Carl Gustav Jung, the Swiss psychiatrist and pioneer of analytical psychology, believed that every human being walks with a hidden companion they would rather not see, the shadow. This shadow is not a monster from outside, but a darker self within, made of the fears we deny, the anger we repress, the envy we pretend not to feel, the selfish desires we bury under a mask of politeness. It is the sum of everything we wish we were not, everything society tells us is unacceptable, and everything we would rather ignore. Jung warned that the shadow is always present, always waiting, and that the most dangerous sign in all psychology is not when someone feels sadness, anxiety, or even rage, but when they insist on their purity, when they say, "I am only good, I could never be cruel." Because in that denial, they hand the keys of their life to the unconscious. To deny the shadow is to let it rule in secret. Imagine a man who wakes each morning and sees in the mirror only what he wants to see. A kind smile, a hardworking professional, a loving father, a loyal friend. When his colleague is promoted, he feels envy, but he buries it, telling himself he is happy for them. When someone criticizes him, he feels anger, but he swallows it and forces a polite laugh. When fear creeps in, he covers it with jokes. When insecurity whispers, he drowns it with overwork. To the world, he looks admirable, even virtuous. Yet the shadow inside him is growing restless, fed by every denial. Jung taught that what is repressed does not disappear. It sharpens in silence, gathering energy, until one day it bursts forth. For this man, it might erupt as cruelty toward his loved ones, betrayal of a friend, self-sabotage of his career, or sudden descent into addiction. Afterwards, he may stare at himself in disbelief and whisper, "I don't know what came over me." Jung would say, "It was not fate, it was not bad luck. It was your shadow, ignored for too long, finally demanding to be seen. Until you make the unconscious conscious, it will direct your life and you will call it fate," Jung wrote, capturing in one line the tragedy of human blindness. The shadow is dangerous not only because it hides in the dark, but because it disguises itself through projection, one of Jung's most haunting insights. A person who cannot face their own flaws unconsciously hurls them onto others. The jealous man insists everyone else is envious. The unkind woman accuses others of cruelty. The insecure boss humiliates employees, and the unfaithful friend condemns betrayal. Projection poisons relationships, corrodes communities, and blinds us to our real task, confronting ourselves. But Jung saw that projection operates on a collective scale as well. When whole groups repress their shared fears and doubts, they project them outward, creating enemies, scapegoats, and targets for hatred. Jung lived through 2 world wars and saw how the shadow of nations, denied and unacknowledged, became catastrophic. In Nazi Germany, ordinary people, teachers, shopkeepers, parents, were swept into violence, not because they were born monsters, but because their denied fears and aggression gathered in the collective unconscious. Leaders like Hitler gave voice to this darkness, shaping it into ideology, turning repressed shadows into real-world destruction. Jung concluded that the denial of the shadow is what allows evil to flourish. The refusal to admit darkness within ourselves becomes the fuel of cruelty in the world. This truth has not faded with time. In today's world, the shadow has simply found new disguises. Social media has become its favorite stage. Millions of people craft digital masks of perfection, smiles, filters, achievements, while their shadow whispers beneath, "You are not enough. You are jealous, you are afraid." These whispers, too painful to face, are projected outward. People lash out in comments, shame strangers, cancel acquaintances, and attack those who falter, all while convincing themselves they are righteous defenders of morality. But Jung would see it differently. They are puppets of their unacknowledged shadow, wielding outrage as a weapon, blind to the darkness directing them. The irony is striking. The ones who proclaim their purity the loudest are often most controlled by the shadow they deny. The most dangerous sign, then, is not when anger, envy, or fear are felt openly, but when they are buried so deeply that they return hidden and multiplied. This truth has not faded with time. In today's world, the shadow has simply found new disguises. Social media has become its favorite stage. Millions of people craft digital masks of perfection, smiles, filters, achievements, while their shadow whispers beneath, "You are not enough, you are jealous, you are afraid." These whispers, too painful to face, are projected outward. People lash out in comments, shame strangers, cancel acquaintances, and attack those who falter, all while convincing themselves they are righteous defenders of morality. But Jung would see it differently. They are puppets of their unacknowledged shadow, wielding outrage as a weapon, blind to the darkness directing them. The irony is striking. The ones who proclaim their purity the loudest are often most controlled by the shadow they deny. The most dangerous sign, then, is not when anger, envy, or fear are felt openly, but when they are buried so deeply that they return hidden and multiplied. Jung's solution was never denial but integration. The shadow cannot be killed, it is part of the psyche. To attempt to destroy it is to destroy a part of ourselves. But it can be known, and once known, it loses its power to ambush us. Integration means looking into the mirror and daring to admit, yes, I envy. Yes, I fear. Yes, I could be cruel to confess this is not weakness, but strength. The man who admits envy is freer from envy's poison. The woman who admits fear is already braver than the one who pretends not to feel it. The person who says, I could be cruel, is less likely to unleash cruelty blindly. Jung believed that wholeness comes not from pretending to be perfect, but from embracing both light and dark. To be whole is to hold compassion and cruelty, bravery and fear, patience and anger, but to choose consciously which to live by. This lesson echoes in an ancient parable of the two wolves. A wise elder tells a child that inside every person live two wolves, one of love, patience, and kindness, the other of anger, envy, and hatred. The child asks, which wolf wins? The elder replies, the one you feed. Jung would have nodded, but he would have added, the greater danger is pretending one wolf does not exist. For when you deny the darker wolf, you do not weaken it. You make it hungrier, more desperate, more dangerous. The shadow is that wolf. Deny it, and it takes control. Acknowledge it, and you tame it. The battlefield, Jung insisted, is always within. One soldier wears the armor of compassion and reason. The other carries the weapons of fear and rage. The dangerous sign appears not when we see both, but when we claim that only one exists. To polish the armor of goodness while pretending the other soldier is not there is to guarantee his rebellion. When betrayal, humiliation, or loss comes, the neglected shadow will seize its chance, exploding into actions we cannot control. Jung's psychology, then, is more than theory. It is survival knowledge. The shadow is not a myth. It is as real as the breath we take, and the greatest danger comes not from its presence, but from our blindness to it. So how do we stay alert? We look in the mirror honestly. We see the stranger in our eyes and whisper, you are part of me too. We stop projecting our flaws onto others and take responsibility for them ourselves. We admit that our hands are capable of kindness, but also cruelty, our hearts capable of love, but also envy, our minds capable of reason, but also deception. Jung's point was never to shame us with our darkness, but to free us by acknowledging it. Only then can we resist the poison of projection, heal our relationships, and keep societies from falling prey to collective madness. And perhaps the hardest lesson of all is that the shadow is not only individual but generational, passed from parents to children, hidden in family secrets, encoded in cultural traditions. If one generation refuses to face it, the next inherits it doubled. The cycle continues until someone dares to look directly at it and say, this ends with me. That is why Jung's teachings remain urgent. Without confronting the shadow, we repeat the same mistakes of history, condemning ourselves to endless cycles of projection and conflict. The shadow lives not only in individuals, but also in nations, in religions, in corporations, and even in families. And the refusal to acknowledge it ensures that its grip only tightens. And yet there is hope, because the very act of naming the shadow loosens its hold. The person who dares to say, I am not only light, I am also darkness, begins a journey that frees them from self-deception and offers them a chance to live more authentically, more courageously, and more whole than before. The shadow will always walk with us, but the choice is ours, to face it and hold the reins, or to deny it and let it steer us into destruction. The most dangerous sign in Jung's psychology, then, is the refusal to admit that darkness lives within us. For the moment we claim purity is the moment we become most vulnerable to our shadow's grip. Stay alert, Jung warns us, because the unconscious will always seek to direct your life. But if you dare to make it conscious, if you dare to face your shadow, you will not only disarm it, you will finally walk toward wholeness with open eyes.